And we're back at Gully to Gully. The same old problems continue with Pakistan cricket on the field, maybe off the field as well. We'll focus a little bit on the Pakistan West Indies series. What mainly went wrong for Pakistan, of course, they kind of fell into their own trap. They're now we, I guess, know why during previous captains' reigns we didn't have spinning tracks. um, but we'll also, there's been a lot more going on outside the world of Pakistan cricket, the Champions Trophy, also the future of Test cricket and what that means, especially given Pakistan's in the bottom of the WTC cycle and the future of that. So, for Pakistan and the Test series, I think it's going to be pretty much more of the same that Moon and I have been going on about for the past couple of years now. But, anyways, let's have a go at it one more time, hopefully for not too long. But laid the trap. It worked against England twice, against the West Indies, sort of. And then from 38 for 7 on day one, Pakistan
I mean,
lost
what can we
by
say?
more than
What
100 runs.
I mean, what can we say? I mean, records of number 9, 10, and 11th contributions were getting shattered left, right, and center. Look, let's start with the first thing on whether there was a strategic error and Pakistan going gung ho about this approach when their batters themselves can't play spin very well. Now, I'll just tell you, I do not disagree with the approach. Let me be very clear. You have to prepare your wickets to give yourself the best chance of winning. Not your best chance of saving, but your best chance of winning. The onus is then on your batters to then actually evolve their approach to the game and evolve their own technique to ensure that they can survive if the shoe ends up being on the other foot. That's just the long and short of it. Pakistan, what you're seeing right now is actually a product of all those previous captains you mentioned that went for flat featherbeds and resulting in domestic cricket also having flat featherbeds. And that's why you are right now in a transitionary phase. Something that was a bit, I'd say, a bit sort of not seen so much in the England series. I think we played better. I have to say, we even lost the toss and we still won. But it was always inevitable that somewhere down the line it was going to come back to bite you because you have not yet had enough experience of batting on these wickets. We don't play in India, right? We don't. I mean, when was the last time we even like we do well in Sri Lanka from time to time? I'm no doubting that, but these types of wickets in Pakistan clearly very new. So you were always going to have this transitionary phase where your batters would have these harsh reality checks. And this was one of them, right? I mean, in fairness, it was actually a good thing that it was in a test match that had little consequence for the WTC as a whole, except that we're languishing at the bottom, which, to be honest, if you gave me the choice of bottom or second last, I'd probably take the bottom because it'll probably mean we do more to fix things. Whereas second last by a thread, people would be like, all right, over to the next,
Yeah.
right? So that's, for me, I think the main thing. You keep with this approach. Don't go negative and defensive, but just bear in mind that you have to then develop your batting. Your batters have to step up and put their hands up. We've seen this all too often where lots of batters get their eye in. And sure, in these types of wickets, a 40 odd is worth its weight in gold. But back up, our batters get out at like 10, 11,
Yeah.
maybe high single digits. And you know, it just seems that they don't have a plan, barring maybe Saud Shakil. I'm not even going to put Rizwan in that same category because he gets out the same time every time. But barring Saud Shakil, the others look like walking wickets. Salman Aga has seen a big drop in form after that
Yeah.
England series. He hasn't been very good in South Africa and here. So, you know, I mean, I'm all for winning, right? And giving yourself the best chance of winning. But your batters need to step up, right? They have been shielded for so many years in the past with those flat wickets and defensive mindsets, and we always kept blaming the bowlers for not getting 20 wickets. But really, it's down to the batters now. Now we have sporting wickets, and the batters need to just put their hands up. And we're going to
Yeah.
have these results. This is part of the transition. We should embrace it and hope that this time next year we would have found a formula that enables us to even save these kinds of test matches and come out of these situations. Noman and Sajid aren't going to do everything. We were joking that it was
Yeah.
England versus Noman and Sajid. They're going to do everything all the time. In fact, I think they've done their fair share for the next year. Okay, now
Yeah.
the batters need to turn it on.
Yeah, and it's also slightly worrying that you mentioned Oman and Sajid, and it's literally just those two as well in the bowling, right?
Oh
Abrar
God,
hasn't
yeah.
been that good in a way. Kashif Ali obviously didn't really get much of a go, so can't say much about him. But yeah, it is the batting, right? Babar Azam, I mean, three single-digit scores in four innings against not the best bowling attack in the world.
I mean, he
Herrera, I
clearly has a
think,
weakness against spin. Yeah.
yeah, Herrera was the biggest disappointment. I think obviously he was his chance to step up and do something, and he failed in all four innings. I think that was probably the biggest disappointment. And I mean, playing a reverse sweep in the fourth innings when you're chasing 250 and you've just lost your captain, and it was such a bad reverse sweep, he completely missed it. It was like he's never played it, practiced it, or played it in the nets, and he just like
See,
decided
this
to
is
play
what I
it.
mean. Like, this is what I mean. Now, I have no issue with intent, but if you're going to be
Yeah,
silly, then
yeah,
intent is not worth very much, right? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you can be positive and play a shot that you're more comfortable with, right? You don't have to play an England style reverse sweep when you've never ever played it in your life. It's crazy, right? When you are on these kinds of wickets, I'm all for being positive because you're always going to get a ball with your name on it. So you have to try and just, it's not a question of whether you will get out, it's a question of when you'll get out. So you have to be aggressive and play with intent, but that doesn't mean playing a shot you've never played, right? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and same. I mean, Kamran Ghulam again trying to go for the big shot every time. Like I don't get it. Rizwan, same thing. I mean, that stumping in the first innings when he was on 40, yeah, he was 49, right? And I mean, he was completely bamboozled, but I mean, he made that ball look a lot better than it was. I mean, it was a good delivery.
As
Yes,
they
it's
always do. Yeah.
drifted in, but he made it look so much better by this completely misreading the got beaten in the flight and just missed it. So yeah, South Chikil again showed some courage. I mean, yeah, he was unlucky, I guess, in the first innings. Roach took
He
a
was.
fantastic catch, but yeah, apart from that, really nothing to
And
show
Barber got
for.
out maybe one of his four innings to an excellent delivery.
Yeah,
But I think I've been seeing it quite often now where he gets out just before the end of the day.
yeah, that
And I
happened so
do
many
think
times.
there's a
Yeah.
lapse in concentration that comes into his play.
Yeah.
Like,
But previously, yeah, it used to be at the beginning of the day when he used to bat throughout, and the next morning he used to get out,
yeah,
like
yeah.
in the early 2020s and stuff. That England tour, I remember. And now it's the other way. Well, now he doesn't even go through to the end of the day; he just gets out before. But yeah, he really needs to do something about that. The only other thing I'd point out is maybe looking at someone like Abrar, and then Agha Salman. Okay, the batter didn't really work. I mean, this guy was Agha Salman was your premier spinner in South Africa and Australia, and now he doesn't get a bowl at all, or gets like one or two overs. And then I know because they've got three spinners already, but then from a balance point of view, it doesn't really make sense because then you might as well play another seamer instead of Abrar to give you that option to maybe polish off the tail because you know that's been an issue for you. Um, but yeah, I think that's somewhere where the team management, Sean Masood, and they do need to take some blame for that. That Abrar, who was underbowled, didn't really do much. I mean, you're gonna have Noman Sajid bowling the bulk of the overs anyway, and then you need to have another seamer as a backup, just in case. But anyways, didn't
It's one of
really.
those things where I'll play devil's advocate here, where you will say that actually the two ways of getting tailenders out is often pace and leg spin, right? Because leg spin
Yeah.
just is confusing, bamboozles them. They get excited by the flight, whatever. So they went with Abrar, right? You could almost say that Abrar was there to, like, he didn't bowl much, but he was there for that role. And it would be the same if there was a fast bowler. And I think Shan Masood and everybody's thinking was, well, you already have a fast bowler at the other end. So why not have a
Mm.
fast bowler and a leg spinner or mystery spinner, whatever you want to call him,
Yeah,
to polish
that
off
was
the
my
tail,
point. He's
right?
not really a leg spinner, is he?
Yeah, you're about to say mystery. Yeah, I know, I understand. I do
Yeah.
think you had a good point on Salman Aga, right? Because when
Yeah.
clearly the tail is wagging, why not give Salman Aga a go? He's a good bowler. right? All
Yeah.
you need is them getting excited and playing a miscued shot, and that's it. Done. Finished. Right?
Yeah.
Pakistan have had this. I mean, 30 or what is it? 35. Like,
38, yeah, 36 for seven or something like that.
I
Yeah.
mean,
38 for
come.
seven when Roman got the hat trick. Yeah.
I mean, come on, come on. I mean, that's the game, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we ended up losing by the same amount as we ended up letting 9, 9, 10, 11 score in the first innings.
Yeah.
And look, Shan Masood says all the right things in these presentations, right? He says, yeah, we need to get better finishing off the tail.
Yeah.
Great. You've been saying this for
Do
like
something about
a
it.
year. Do something about it, man. And
Yeah.
it can't be quality because it's different personnel. It's not the same personnel as South Africa. South Africa, you had a different strategy and crop of bowlers. At home, you have a different strategy crop of bowlers. But clearly, something is the same, and dare I say that something is Shan Masood. Right now, it's unfair to blame a captain when he's a batting captain. There's nothing you can do, but when it becomes so obvious, they're clearly not doing something right.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you
Whether
can't.
it's not,
Yeah. Sorry. No, I just, yeah, I mean, you say he's a batting captain, but he has to take the blame for, and it's not the first time. It's happened
yeah,
consistently, right? It
yeah.
happened in Australia. Maybe not the tail, but it was really, you had them, four or five down, and then somebody used to come in and finish. I mean, that's been a Pakistan issue for forever,
What
but it's just been very consistent throughout
what
this
I
this
think
cycle.
happens is in the dressing room they focus on numbers 1 to 6, right?
Yeah.
And they just don't get time, and they just hope that 7 to 11 a batter
Oh,
will just give them a gift, right? There'll be a
yeah.
mistake somewhere, and they'll just wait for something to happen. Bowl right, when actually wiping out a resilient tail is an art in itself. Like for
Yeah.
example, when do you dangle the carrot, right? When do you like we bring the fielders in, let them have a go. 12, 15 runs doesn't matter if you get a if you bundle them out, right? Getting that balance right between attacking but yet frustrating them
Yeah.
with bowling perhaps a defensive line in length, and they don't have the technique to nudge around or whatever, and they just get a bit frustrated, and you just so it's a fine balance between aggressive and defensive bowling when you're bowling against the tail, right? I mean,
Yeah.
ideally what you do is you want to be aggressive front on, and when that's not working then you retreat into a defensive, dry up the runs, don't even give singles, and then make them do something silly. But it's easier said than done, because when I say all this, yes, it all sounds like they're all in line with each other, but actually a lot of these strategies contradict each other, right? Sometimes when a batter's farming a strike against the tail, you want to give them a single and get the tail end on
Yeah.
strike. Sometimes you want to be aggressive against both and not give any easy runs, right? Sometimes, depending on the match situation and how many runs you're playing with, you want to just bowl a part timer and dangle the carrot and
Yeah.
bring the fielders up, let them make a mistake. Sometimes you won't have enough runs to do that, and you just have to trust your premier bowlers and like just and get the field placements right. Different things like that. Like, is there a left hand or so, all these. It's not always that straightforward as people think. And I just think, like, for example, with Rabada, right? I'm going back to South Africa. He's a left-hander on strike. You had more than 30 runs to play with. Give Salman Agha a bowl. What could possibly hurt a spinner bowling away from the left-hander? He's apparently, I read somewhere that he does get out to spin quite often, right? But try
Yeah.
something. Or try Kurum Shazad. I mean, you're bringing in Amir Jamal. Well, these little things, right? And
Yeah.
in this game, it was as okay, Noman Sajid, Noman Sajid, okay, Noman Sajid, Noman Sajid, okay, Sajid Noman, Sajid Noman. Because we
Yeah.
didn't have a plan B, and we never have a plan B.
Yeah.
Your
And it's just
plan
that hope that the batter is going to play a bad
exactly,
shot eventually, and then it's going to
exactly, and the
sky
plan B is
one.
Salman Agha. I can pull out stats to show you how part-time bowlers often have good records against tailenders, right? Because they haven't practiced against them, they never seen them bowl, and quite honestly, they get a bit excited and can't help themselves, right? And if it's a good quality part-time bowler, and I call Saman Agha is actually not a part-time bowler, he's a proper all-rounder, so I take that back. But I'm just saying, even if he were a part-time bowler or a good part-time
Yeah.
bowler, you would let him have a bowl. So it's a no-brainer to let him have a bowl when he is a decent all-rounder, right? So
Yeah.
that's my 2 cents. Or maybe
Yeah.
Sort Shakil if you don't want to bowl an off right now off spinner. That guy used to bowl. He was a left-arm orthodox bowler, and he used to bowl
Yeah.
10 overs, Zahid, in England, right? If you needed someone like that, like you have options there, and I just think sometimes Pakistan doesn't think, and maybe if you needed, you didn't think Abrar Ahmed was going to do the trick. You're, as you say, get Naseem Shah or get a fast bowler in who just bowls
Yeah,
fast, right?
yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things went wrong, but yeah, it's the same issues. I mean, the one last thing on this is the next WTC cycle. Do you still see Shan Masood as captain? Bearing in mind when he took over, Pakistan were top of the league of the table. They won 2-0 in Sri Lanka under Babar Azam's captaincy, and then I think Pakistan didn't play a test match for like 8, 9 months or whatever for a year. No, yeah, for like 6 months. They had the whole 2023 World
I
Cup
don't know
debacle
who
and
the
Babar
alternative
Azam.
is, to be really honest with you,
Yeah.
because I don't
And
think
now
I know
the
everyone will
rock
talk
bottom
about
from top to bottom. He's won
everyone will talk.
three matches, right?
Imagine, nahi,
Yeah,
yeah,
he's won three.
he's won three.
Yeah,
Yeah,
two against England,
altogether
one
we
against
won
West
five.
Indies,
Yeah, 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 yes, yes. So look,
which has
my
included what five, 7 test matches at home. Okay, fine. 3 in Australia and 5 in South Africa. 2 in South Africa, fine. 5-0. Not that anybody else would have done better.
no,
And I
but
know people,
look,
people will say he got close and this and
he got
that, and
close. He got closer than many people did in Australia
yeah,
and at Centurion. Everyone will say that. Look, I'll be really honest. I would say there isn't anybody else to replace him. People will say Rizwan, but I'm going to say I don't think Rizwan is as certain of a place in tests as people might think. Like, I'm getting a bit exhausted with the lack of match winning innings or match saving innings by Rizwan. Rizwan gets set and then he gets out. And I just think he already, because we are invariably 100 for 4, he already has so much of a job keeping wicket and then trying to bat his heart out and not doing amazingly at that I just think captaincy will burden him further. Same reason why Saud Shakil. I know he's your vice captain. I don't want to burden him with captaincy the same way as we did with Babar. So I'm actually torn with an option, right? And I just think because we have shot ourselves in the foot with all these coaching changes through revolving doors, I think it won't hurt to have some sort of consistency and like, you know, status quo. So that may mean Shan Masood gets lucky for a little while longer. But I just
yeah.
don't. Maybe you can help me think of somebody, but I can't think of anybody at this time.
Look, I think we've been very lenient towards Thomas. I think
We have.
you know, but I think the issue for me is, yeah, like you said, the personnel has changed, but the results haven't, and the same issues have crept up. And again, the biggest issue, I know he got 100 in South Africa, but his form has been pretty terrible, right? I mean, he's not. He is the same thing. He gets 100, and then he just has
String. Yeah, yeah.
consistent failures. It's not even like he gets like 40s or 50s, right? He just gets like single digit scores. So
Or
I don't know
more
what it is.
frustratingly, he'll get like a 20, or he'll do all the hard work to get in. So he'll be
Yeah.
like 12 or 40 balls, and then he'll get out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So that's the issue. I mean, the inability to polish off the tail. I mean, 99 for 8 against South Africa, 26 for 6 against Bangladesh, 38 for 7 against the West Indies. It's happened, and in fact, even in the first test, the West Indies, I remember their tail wagged up a bit. They had them for like 90 for
They
9
did.
or something. And yeah, it happened a few times. So the warning signs were there even then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so a combination of those two. I know you say Saud Shakil probably because of his, you don't want to burden him. But I mean, he's the vice captain. He's vice captain for a reason. And I think they have to go with him. Partly also because I just don't know, like Sham Masood still averages in the 20s, 27, 28. I mean, for a test captain, is that really of any pedigree? I know there aren't any alternatives. Herrera hasn't really made his case. So I know there's a lot of problems. But now it's a new, fresh test cycle. Maybe Agha Saban could have been an option as well, but obviously he's not. Maybe in some conditions he's not 100% sure to start. And Saud was your vice captain, so I
You would go
think
something.
if it's the time to make the change, it's now. I think Pakistan doesn't play a test match for like 8-9 months. Who knows what's going to happen by then? Maybe 3 of them would have retired and recalled their retirement by then, but. um,
But no,
but yeah, I do think that there is
but don't you
some
think to
merit in
some
that.
extent, Zai, that that would have been more applicable had we not gone through these crazy coaching changes, which no doubt impacted the team,
Yeah, but that's
right?
just still going to happen anyway, right?
No, but
Um,
I'm saying that, like, don't you think that we owe the team some level of normalcy and consistency, given it's been so, like, I'm not an advocate of all these coaching changes. If the coaching change staff had not gone through revolving doors, I'd probably say, yeah, now we need to make some sort of change. But because we've
yeah.
had nothing but change, I think the fact that we're not making a change is itself a change. Just the
Maybe.
not jumping the gun. Oh, no, I wait. I take it back. We've been, as you say, been very lenient Sharma. So if we remove him, it won't be jumping the gun. Absolutely. But I just think maybe giving consistency and sort of what's the word I'm looking for? So just keeping a status quo on things, may
Yeah.
be something different, and that may help things a little. I don't know. It's a thought. You could disagree, and I'm not 100% convinced myself either. But
Yeah, I think, and yeah, my only other issues with it is, again, you look at the England model, right, where they've not had a very good World Test Championship, but Ben Stokes, no one's really questioned his captaincy. Maybe they have in the English media, but generally they haven't, right? I know Rohit Sharma in India, there've been question marks around his longer term future, but at least you see them and you know what you're going to get out of them, right? There's a brand of cricket that both of those teams play. Obviously, you still have Australia, probably one of the best in the world. New Zealand as well, you know what you're going to get. Pakistan is just, you don't know. At home, yes, they play. Now they've had this new formula for the last 4 test matches that they've got. There was this park ball thing which came up for 2 test matches and then just went away
which
completely.
one?
With the park ball format, approach against Sri Lanka, when
No,
they went
no,
after
that's
the
not Pakistan.
bowling
That's
and
the Pakistan way.
or whatever,
The
whatever you want to
Pakistan
call it,
way. That lasted
whatever
for those
brand you
two
want to.
tests, when whatever
Yeah,
that was. Yeah.
exactly, right. And they just keep like flipping and flopping. So that's also the thing. I mean, they've not gone the baseball way, so to speak, and lost consistently. So that's part of also the issue where if you see a process and okay, fine, the team is failing as part of that process, you can understand, okay, maybe in a year's time, they go through that process and eventually they'll come good on the other side. It's very ad hoc and last minute, just like the whole Sajid Noman thing, who just got bought in from nowhere. Mohammad Abbas again in South Africa as well. So it's just that, you know last minute, very
It's
Pakistani
random.
styles.
That's the
Yeah.
word. It's random.
But it's always been
That's
like that in Pakistan cricket. So maybe you just do that. There's always been a Shahid Afridi
No,
or
I'll
a
be
Fakhar
honest
Zaman
with you,
who's come
Pat. There
in,
was
and,
a
and it's just
time
the
I think you
same.
and I both felt that it changed a bit. Whether it
Yeah.
was the Misbah years in Test cricket in Misbah's time, but also in the, I'd say, early 2020, 21, where at least we came across a team that tried, that
Yeah.
didn't just put up their, guards, and like, it was still a crop of players that you would back, and one of them would step up. Here it's
Yeah.
the wilderness wildcard players that are stepping up, right? Why? I mean, who's next, right? Is Mohammad
Yeah.
Irfan going to come? Like, who's the next?
Yeah.
Where's the next centurion? I mean, is it Tawfiq Umar? You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Imran Khan? Like, I'm saying the more random we get, the better the result, which is just the recipe for disaster that you don't want for a
Yeah.
top tier team. And speaking of top tier, we talk about WTC, we talk about, like, could this be the start of a tier one, tier two? And you wonder what comes of a team like Pakistan. And I'd have to say, unfortunately, Pakistan, although I read an article that we were considered tier one, I'm not so sure. You came last in
I
the
don't.
cycle,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think cricketing ability is what's determining who's tier one or tier two, right?
which
By
is a
that
shame.
logic, some could argue even England could be tier two, which is an absolute no-no. So I think probably Pakistan after the big three, commercially speaking, probably the strongest. Um, despite all the issues that PCB have had. So I think that's probably one of the reasons why, even though even tier one, you'll have the issue of two teams not playing each other. But anyways, I mean, the whole concept, I mean, to me, it doesn't. Yeah, I'm not a fan of it, to be honest. I know there is financial sense in the whole model, and the idea is to make England, Australia, and India obviously play, I don't know, 10 test matches a year against each other.
Which is ridiculous, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. I mean, sometimes there's a novelty in the anticipation, and you're going to kill that. I remember there was a time when India and Pakistan used to play series every year, and I thought towards the end that became a bit overkill. And you can tell that the build up to the last series that we played, which was in India, was significantly less, much less than the first series or even the second
Yeah.
series, right? So it does, and I mean, boy, were we spoiled for choice then. I mean, I'd kill to go back to those days, but whatever. So I do think you don't want to kill the
Yeah.
anticipation. Like, what does that mean? You're going to have the Ashes every year then? Like, that's ridiculous, right? There's a reason
Yeah.
why this formula works. So I actually like the WTC for all its flaws, and we've talked about it and
Yeah.
stuff. The some people have easier schedules than others, but everybody gets a semi-fair shot.
Yeah.
Everybody gets reviewed. It adds relevance to every single test series, right? Even if you're not playing it. So I think
Yeah.
it's a good, and especially why make the change when you've probably had the best World Test Championship cycle when it comes to the unpredictability of outcomes until the very end for
Yeah.
the top two spots ever, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it makes sense. The other thing, the only issue I have with the WTC, I think it's just a case of finessing it rather than completely overhauling the system. Is if you look at Pakistan, yes, Pakistan finished bottom, and yes, I've got some bias in that. But this whole percentage point thing, I'm not sure about, because Sri Lanka also won 5 games, and they were pretty much in with a shout till the last Border Gavaskar test match for making it to the final, right? So,
So
um,
I thought about this, but then I
and
realized,
Pakistan have also won 5. Okay, as awful as Pakistan have been, but they've finished rock bottom, right? And you look at South Africa won 9 out of 12 again. Well done to them, and deservedly. I do think they're deservedly in the final, despite of whatever anybody else has said. So it's just this. I think West Indies have won 3 matches in the whole cycle.
yeah. So I'll tell you.
So
I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of the win percentage because I think in Test cricket there are three outcomes, not two, right? And the draw is not just like a no result due to rain; it is a result, right?
yeah,
So I just think you do need to factor in that a draw is significantly better than a loss. So if if you just go by wins, then people won't care about saving Test matches, right? They won't care about it because it makes no difference. What if you're
yeah,
not in winning position? Then it doesn't matter if you draw or lose. So you just put your hands up and just be like, you know what, screw it. Or if you have the football system where draw is maybe 1 point or something like that, win is
yeah,
it, right? Maybe that's a good option. So you have a win is like 3 points, a draw is 1.5 or something like that. I don't know, and a loss is nothing. But the win percentage for me does take that into consideration in quite a neat way, where I think a loss isn't a win percent. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the win percentage such that a loss is a minus and a draw is zero?
yeah, something like that. Or I think a draw is half a point, something like that. Yeah,
So
it's
there is
weird.
that element,
Yeah.
right? And see, the issue why you need a percentage is because
It
everybody
doesn't matter
plays
for
a
Pakistan
different.
because Pakistan didn't draw a single game in the cycle, by the way.
Yeah, so we have no idea what happened there, but that's proof, right? That draw does matter because Sri Lanka did draw, and that's why they had a higher win percentage. I think the reason why you can't have absolute is because they all play a different number of test matches. That's just reality. Now, you may say that that's what they need to fix. Everybody plays the same number of test matches, but unfortunately, we don't have that big enough a window in the calendar for all that to happen. So, because you're going to have an asymmetry in the number of test matches people will play, you can't have absolute. That's just simple as that. And
Yeah,
if you want to value the draw, then you need to have some sort of mechanism where you take account for everyone playing different test matches, i.e., take a ratio, and where it's not just win, even though it's called win percentage, but I do think they take draws slightly better than losses. So, unfortunately, that is the best. For me, the bigger issue is the fact that people play like 11 versus people play like 15, 16. I expect not everyone not playing the same number, but it cannot
yeah,
be a difference of 4 or 5 test matches. For me, that's a lot,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
It should be a max of 2 test matches, maximum. If it's three or
yeah.
more, it's too much.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as you look at the table, England have played 22, the
Yeah, I mean,
most,
it's ridiculous. It's
and Sri Lanka played 11. I know Sri Lanka playing Australia for 2 more. They'll have 13. South Africa have 12, and England have played 22. So that's, yeah, I mean, that's 10 more.
That's
That's
ludicrous.
ridiculous.
And you'll say it benefits England, but it also doesn't, right? If England had a really good initial start, but then have to maintain a win percentage for so much longer, they'd be like, what the hell is this? Whereas it could benefit them if they're losing the first few. So, I mean, I just think it's silly.
Yeah.
I mean, you need to keep
Yeah.
that in check.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, I know people talk about balance and stuff, but the one thing I think overall, if you look at it, I think the teams do get a fairer balance of fixtures. I know Pakistan, for us on paper, looked like the previous cycle was probably set up for Pakistan to do well,
Well,
which was done.
the next is set up for Pakistan as well.
Yeah. So you'll have that cycle, right? But it's not like that biased in a way.
No, because you still have to win the
No,
games, right? Look, West
exactly.
Indies beat Pakistan in Pakistan. There you go.
Yeah.
And here we
New
thought
Zealand.
2 months ago Pakistan could have made it to the final if South Africa drops an over 8 point, and here now we're lost, right? Which just goes to show how up and down it can
Yeah.
go. So I mean, I don't mind that, right? I mean, sometimes you
Yeah.
will have some cycles that benefit you. Unfortunately, it is an imperfect system, but when you play a game that lasts 5 days alongside two other formats, something's got to give.
Yeah. No, I agree. And moving on from imperfect systems to probably the most perfect system of cricket, the Champions Trophy. As a system, probably the best. You have the best 8 teams, short and sweet tournament, 2 weeks, all done, go home, champions and all that, rather than having months long of tournaments and all that. But despite all its formatting pros, there's been some systematic issues with admin issues in Pakistan. Um, mm, Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff about the stadiums and all that stuff. I'm not going to get into that because apparently it's all on track, and we'll know in a week anyway because the Tri Series is meant to happen in Lahore. So fingers crossed on
I
that.
don't
But
think is it meant to happen in Lahore? I think it's Multan.
they said it was Multan, but then they moved it to. They announced like in the beginning of January that they're going to have it in Lahore just to prove a point that it's ready.
Oh, really? Okay.
But
I missed that actually.
yeah, but you never know with Mohsen Naqvi and team. He's too busy doing other things. But anyways, the bigger issue obviously is of course Pakistan, the only team to have not announced their squad, which we can't say much about because there's nothing announced.
There's nothing announced. We know why. Same as last time. There's an injury concern, and they want to see. And just Pakistan are just so hopeless in having any sort of contingency plan. But look, I mean, look, it is what it is. I think we know what it's going to end up being. If Sam Ayub makes it, he opens slots in. If he doesn't, then there's a question mark on who replaces him. And people have thrown in Shan Masood's name, but that's only after his 150. But after this West Indies Test series, probably
Yeah.
you're probably second guessing that now. So I'm not sure is the honest answer, and neither are the PCB. So and the fact that Kushtil Shah is about to make a comeback based on his Bangladesh Premier League appearance just goes to show how absolutely whack these selectors are. I'm saying that, and then Kushil Shah will make 100 against India and Dubai, and everybody will just absolutely curse me. But that's what Pakistan cricket does. So I mean, maybe this is a wilderness, a wild card pick like like Sajid and Noman and Mohammad Abbas. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
that's what they're going after.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, yeah, it's. I don't know what they're doing, why they're run down, but it's just very Pakistan. Like I mean, their team that goes, to announcing their playing 11 a day or two before the match to absolutely not doing anything,
Number
not
one team
announced.
in the world. I'm like, let's just throw it in. The cockiness
Hmm.
that. Well, there you have it
Uh,
then. So Test series done. Now to one day cricket. Our next session, we will hope to look at all the squads, but judging by Pakistan's reputation of tardiness, I think it'll just be all the squads bar Pakistan. But we're going to just take a look at them. I think there are a few glaring misses, a few obvious choices. We'll go through all that and more, and we'll also use that to give you our predictions. Our predictions haven't always been spot on. In fact, actually, correct me if I'm wrong. I think our World Cup 23 was that the one that was spot on, or was it World T20 24? One of them was absolutely spot on. I think it was. I can't remember now.
Maybe it was World T20, T20 because I've picked India to win the last two. So
Yeah, you picked it away, and we didn't have Pakistan there,
yeah,
and that's exactly what happened. No one could have predicted Afghanistan, of course. But look, we're going to give you our predictions, and then let's see whether they come true or not. Um, it's going to be probably one of the quickest ICC events that we've had in a long time. And I think, as you say, Zaid, that naturally brings a breath of fresh air to it, right?
Yeah.
It may favor some teams versus others, but at least you don't have to labor on something that is not meant to be longer than 2.5 weeks. So, look, we'll cover the squads. Obviously, there's some politics around venues, but we'll cover that in the next episode. Thanks, Zahid.
Thank you.